It's my life, and it's now or never, because I ain't going to live forever. I just want to live while I'm alive. It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like Frankie said, I did it my way. I just want to live while I'm alive. It's my life. That's It's My Life by legendary band Bon Jovi. Welcome to Industry Outlaws United, IOU for short. I'm your host, Brandon E. Brooks. The man in the box next to me is Joe Ridgely. Happy Friday, everybody. How are you tonight, Mr. Ridgely?
Man, I am excellent. All the shows, the spectacular shows we've had on for the past week, man. I can't even deal.
Fantastic show. I want to shout out to my subsoil brother, Tim Melican. A great rock and roll nightmare Q&A panel last night with a great group of guests. He knocked it out of the park. It was awesome. Daniela, greetings from the North Pole. Yes, greetings. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. We want to see you back on the network soon. Please do. Please come back.
Coming very soon.
Awesome. Yeah, but again, shout out to Tim last night. Great show. And last week, I mean, gosh, a legend, an icon in the business that's very closely attached to tonight's guest. Please tell a little bit about that. Joe, you were there.
Yeah, last week on David Lee Madison's The End of the Night, the Indie Escape, Tom Holland. Holy crap. That was like a bucket list freaking
Absolutely. Thing. I mean, again, looking at that man's resume, I mean, obviously Fright Night, but even some of the amazing things that he wrote, like I'm a huge Class of 1984 fan, and that's a big one to me growing up with Perry King and Roddy McDowall and young Michael J. Fox. And again, the resume of that man is absolutely stellar. And even at 79 years old, he was sharp as a whip, and he still should be directing things like out there. So, hopefully that does happen. But yeah, an absolute legend on David, Scott, and you guys' show on last Sunday night. So yeah, and like I said, we're gonna continue that string tonight with tonight's amazing guest that's in the green room. But any other announcements though, Joe, for anything upcoming or
not yet? The guys are kind of keeping me hanging this week, unfortunately. So stay tuned. We got CJ. What's up, the Indie Escape Network family?
And I also want to give a shout out to my great friends at Terrifier 2, Damian Leone, Steve Barton, Phil Falcone, that whole amazing cast, David Howard Thornton, Lauren Rivera, Elliot Fulham. They are making history in not just horror cinema, just cinema as it is. Like with the numbers that Terrifier 2 are making, it's got a longer theatrical run now. And again, I couldn't be happier for Steve and just that whole team of just really good, great like-minded filmmakers, and I just continue to give them as many props as possible so that film can continue to break down barriers for myself and every filmmaker that's out there that's independent.
The best headline I saw was that Terrifier 2 knocks Top Gun Maverick out of the top 10.
Yes, and the great icon, an absolute legend in any realm, Stephen King, messaged about it today, which was, I mean, gosh, if there's ever a legend in horror, just like Tom Holland and many others, like Stephen King, it's on his radar. So that right there tells you something right there on a major level. Terrifier 2 has been all over the news. Way to go. Absolutely, Daniela. All right, so without further ado, let's get this party started. Mr. Ridgely, can you please play our tribute video for tonight's amazing guest?
Absolutely. just another amazing actor with an incredible resume.
Without further ado, actor William Ragsdale.
Hi guys. Wow, that was some video. I was like it was almost like an in memoriam sort of thing, you know, put some sad music under it. Oh, he was great.
Awesome. Thank you, William, for spending some of your Friday night with us. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
Sure, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Awesome. Absolutely. So yeah, a little backstory.
You got to learn the buttons, Brandon. You shouldn't hit that button. You should hit.
There we go.
Shorter than I thought it would be.
All right. So yeah, a little backstory. Like I was privileged to meet William and his co-star Amanda Burrs at the Houston horror film festival a few months back, and we got to chat a little bit, and they couldn't have been more gracious. So again, and now you see a horror film legend on the screen here on IOU. So all right, so there we go. There's Amanda and him at a con, yeah, and we saw during the tribute. Absolutely. So yeah, so I always start, William. I always ask people to let our audience know where were you born and raised, and did your family and friends know at a young age that your path was acting?
Yeah, I was born and raised in a little town called El Dorado, Arkansas. It's in the very southernmost part of the state, right across from the Louisiana border, and it was a very small town and kind of Mayberry-esque, but what they did have was a very active art center, like community for fine arts and for theater and music and all that stuff. So it was really well patronized and funded and all that stuff. So that's where I got to start. And they had a children's theater there, and that's where I started when I was about 10 years old. So
okay. And you were an extroverted kid, I take it, just like were you hamming it up?
Yeah. I used to make before even that, I would make like Super 8 movies, you know, of myself and my friends, you know, just these odd little stories that were 3 minutes long or something like that. So I was always sort of, I guess, interested in the performing narrative kind of stuff.
Cool. So what are some of your inspirations? What are some of your favorite films and actors growing up?
Well, I grew up loving. The town had one theater for a long time, and it was this old 1920s opera house that they had opened as a vaudeville stage, but the sound movies had come out like a year after it was built, so they turned it into a movie theater. And that's where I was every Friday night and every Saturday during the day. You know, was where whatever was showing, whatever was going through. You know, the first thing I remember seeing there was Fantastic Voyage in 1960, whatever that was. But they would also have, you know, double features nights on like Friday nights, and they'd have the old horror stuff. They'd have Dr. Phibes and you know. And Billy Jack and all kinds of, you know, just all really great stuff, and not carefully curated, but it was what it was available. But it was so that was a real foundational forming part of my life, I guess.
Okay, so what? So like, obviously you were on stage, like doing some theater stuff or whatever. But what took you to your first audition to get you your first acting job?
You mean like professionally or
professionally? Yes, professionally.
Yeah.
What led into that? Did you stumble into it, or was it an audition?
No, I had started doing plays, like I said, when I was like 10 years old, and I had done them in the children's theater, the community theater. I did them in school, high school. I did them in college, and when I got out of college, I sort of didn't really have a clear sense of what I was going to do. So my parents actually, funnily enough, said, you know, why don't you go give acting a try, you know, because you enjoy it. You've gotten, you know, fairly good feedback for it. So they paid for a year at an acting school in California for me. And I went out and did it there. And before I was even done, I auditioned for Peter Bogdanovich for Mask and a couple of other smaller feature things. And so, yeah, I was sort of in the stream, and it just kind of felt like it took me along. So.
Okay. So when you first got, before we get into like specific movies, when you were on stage, did you ever suffer from any anxiety or anything before you go on, or did you get those nerves out before you even got to film, like, or whatever?
I never really did. Not until much later in life, when you sort of start thinking about it. But no, I was always very comfortable. I mean, I was always kind of comfortable in front of people performing and ad-libbing and, all of that stuff. So I never really had any of that. I mean, where I was from was, there was football and there was hunting. And, if you didn't do those things, you were on your own, and so this was kind of an outlet for me. I felt like this is a place that, I kind of belong.
That you belong,
fit in. And so I was like more comfortable there than any place else, really.
And that's cool, because that's cool that your folks were the kind of a conduit, because that's usually the opposite in a lot of people's careers, that they're like, no, go to college and be a lawyer, or be this, or something stable or whatever. So that's kind of cool that your parents.
No, they were very supportive of it. I think that they had seen, because I had won like this drama competition when I was in high school and stuff. And so they had seen that I was serious about it, and, and other people's reactions too, it wasn't just like a pipe dream that I was, was improbable. And my mother would, used to point out, she said, because my parents grew up in the Depression. She said that was the highlight of their week was when they could go to see a movie or something, so that kind of career from their perspective was, not recession or depression proof, but there was always a call for it. And I think that they recognize that.
Awesome. All right. Daniela, one of our Indiescape podcasters, has a question. Is there a genre that you've always wanted to act in that you never had the opportunity?
I would like to do like a Western or something, I think, something, some costumey thing or whatever. I would love that, or medieval. Briefly, because I know you have a lot of Mannequin 2 fans out there, I got to play, the first part of the movie was, the Dark Ages or something, the 1400s or something, and I got to put on like a billowy shirt and a sword and ride a horse, and that was kind of fun. So more of that.
That's cool. Cool. Yeah, I love Westerns too. I grew up loving like the old Clint Eastwood ones, John Wayne, all the way up to Tombstone and Silverado and a lot of those types. So that would be cool. So Charlie Brewster comes to you relatively quick. Actually, your second professional film in. Did this come via auditions for Tom Holland, or how did this process? Was it a quick process? Many callbacks? Like, how did this work?
When I was in acting school there in San Francisco, they were casting Mask, Peter Bogdanovich's Mask, and it was Jackie Birch was the casting person. And so she had reached out to some agent friends of hers up there, who in turn reached out to people in the theater and acting community about young guys who were thin, who, might be able to play this. And so that's how I met Jackie. And then when I was out of school, a couple of months later, I said, I'm going to come down. I was visiting some friends down for Thanksgiving. And I said, I'm going to come down in a couple of months. Can I, buy you lunch or something like that? And she said, no, but why don't you come by? I've got this project you might be right for. Why don't you come by and pick up a script and read for it? And so I did, and it went well. And then it took about probably 2 months of kind of, driving back on weekends to do the audition or whatever. I maybe auditioned 4 or 5 times for it. And because I was still up in San Francisco and this was down in LA,
okay.
So I worked at it, but it did work out in the end.
Now, being that it is your first, obviously you did a smaller role in the film before, being that you're a lead role and you're opposite an amazing veteran like Roddy McDowall. Obviously you said you were over the nerves and the anxiety of it, but what was that process like, being on this big Hollywood set for the first time and working with actors like Roddy, and obviously Amanda was young at the time as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, it was kind of like you see it in the old movies, these big sound stages and cameras, and it was was old school stuff. So it was a big, dark, cavernous stage, and with these amazing sets, and so it felt very comfortable.
Oh, okay.
And Roddy was very totally. He and Chris were both very
Yeah.
uh, accessible and outreaching and supportive and all that stuff. So it was never, we were never waiting around for Roddy to come out of his trailer, any of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, he was a kid. He was as much of a kid at doing it as I was. I think.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So the process. Were you a fan? Like I said, you said you did watch some horror things growing up.
Oh, yeah.
But when you read this script for the first time, was it something that you knew was obviously nobody knows what's going to become a cult film, but was it something you felt good about? Is something that could catapult you into the success you ended up finding?
I had been at acting school. I'd been doing like Chekhov and Ibsen and Shakespeare, and so I thought, oh, okay, well, this is a nice, fun little summer movie or whatever they're going to do with it. It's a nice entry level position, and so I enjoyed it from that standpoint. I had no idea it would people would still be interested in it 30 years later. I just thought it was kind of a fun horror thing, and it was it was original in that it was something that was kind of more story based than a lot of the stuff that was going on then. Because it was, as Roddy says in the movie, a lot of slasher stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was just that was kind of a formula in a way, and this had more of a narrative and characters and all that stuff. So that did make it fun. Yeah.
Now, before we move to On the Move, what are your feelings about part 2? Because that's divisive with certain people. Like obviously, it's not the first one is an all-time classic, and there's a lot of love for the sequel. But what does William Ragsdale feel about going back to the part again, and how that plays with the first film?
Yeah, it's such a different movie. At the time, it was kind of a little disappointing because it didn't do as well. It didn't get as wide a distribution, and and it felt like that there was a lot there, but people weren't going to be exposed to it, so that was a little disappointing. But as the life, as the horror convention life has blossomed, and people have held on to the original, I've gone back and looked at the sequel, and it's it stands on its own. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of more of an 80s time capsule than the first one is. And it's it's gotten a following among the LGBT Q. Forgive me for using that letters, but because there's some subversive character types going on in it, and that's interesting because that's in the last 5-10 years or something like that. So but
it's definitely taken on a life that wasn't seen at that time when it came out. Like, so definitely. So so Mannequin 2, On the Move. This is another film that came not long after that, and a great cast. You were surrounded Meshach Taylor and Christy Swanson and everything like that. So any challenges in this film? Obviously, you're acting sometimes with you actually have mannequins. You're playing off of these things. Tell us a little bit about the filming of this movie.
Well, it was the first movie, the only movie really that I was sort of treated like a movie star. I mean, they were, people were around and they were paying attention to me, and they put me in a nice hotel, and they sort of looked out for me a bit, and that was a lot of fun. That was not something I had ever experienced before, and it was on the heels of the original, which had been a big hit, so you knew people were going to, it sort of had a partially built-in audience, and Meshach was great, and all the other Stuart Pankin and all these other guys who were in it were a lot of fun. So it was a fun, and I got to be in Philly we shot it in Philly for like 2 months, and it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's I revisited recently, and it's a fun time. Like again, sometimes not everything holds up, as we all know, but it was a fun time. I thought both of the films, like actually, I watched them back to back, and again, I had a good time with them. And CJ Robles, one of our podcasters on Monday nights, my Manic Monday, said just finished watching Mannequin 2, still makes me laugh.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, CJ.
All right, so
my kids
please.
saw it, and they were the guards or body guys or bodybuilder guys. They were just hysterical over it. They thought it was.
Now,
they didn't really have any. They didn't really know Arnold, and the Saturday Night Live sort of send up of all that stuff. They really hadn't had exposure to that, so it was just out of left field for them. They thought that was the most hysterical thing they'd ever seen. And those guys were real Chippendales dancers too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
They still danced on the weekend, and then they came in and did their movie roles and during the week. It's pretty funny.
So you brought up something that I didn't have in my brain, but your kids, like, do they see looking back at some of that? So I'm not certain the ages, but do they see Dad as a movie star, or as like or are you just Dad? Because even the biggest movie stars in the world are just Dad to to their kids. So they look back at Fright Night and these things. Do they laugh? What is their reaction to like that time frame?
They haven't seen Fright Night. They haven't seen any of the Fright Night stuff because they I think the poster was disturbing enough for them. So they don't feel like they want to see me in jeopardy or something. I'm not sure what the psychology of it is, but they just haven't shown any interest in seeing it, which is fine. They'll cover it when they can. But they're also they're pretty imaginative kids, so I think that if something gets too scary, they get really uncomfortable. So I have to kind of honor that. And but they did see Mannequin 2, which they enjoyed, and they've seen me do some plays and stuff, which so they know what it's about.
Okay, cool. So Herman Brooks, and a show that I enjoyed when I was young, Herman's Head. Tell us about, again, this. There we go. There's the poster. Thanks. And tell us about this Greek chorus like type thing that you're going through with all these different perspectives and interpretations. How was this working with on television, first of all, which is a different medium? But how was this set process for you?
It was great. I mean, it was that's one of the scripts you read and you go, this is completely different. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I think everybody has kind of had that experience in their lives, feeling like, where did that voice come from that I just, that popped into my head or something. And so it was sort of giving life to that. And that was really fun and exciting. And and we shot it as you saw it. We had two sets that were the office set and the brain set that were right next to each other. So we did it before a live audience. And when you're in the office, the camera's in front of me, and then they run the cameras over to the head and do it just like that. So it was real time, the way that it kind of interacted. And, so it wasn't like take a break, we'll go over to the brain and shoot all that stuff. It was real time, and that was challenging, because it was a lot of moving parts, but the characters were great. The actors were great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there we go. Hank Azaria,
James Sibbett and Yardley, and Jason Bernard.
Yes, Jason. Yes. I always loved his expressions. So cool. Again, I think I wanted to show that love because it's underrated in a lot of ways. A lot of people don't talk about it like they talk about Married with Children. And there you go, Terry Jarrell, filmmaker. Such a fun show, and absolutely also had CJ Robles. The Soldier Boys were cleaning up shop on the big screen in the stage. LOL. Okay. But so one thing that I mentioned to you in the green room that I actually had forgot about, but I do remember back when it was on. You did a stint on the Ellen Show. Now, the Ellen television show, not the talk show. And you played one of her love interests. And this was a time when, right before she had come out. Now, how was it to work with her on the set? Was there any anxiety from her, having this secret that really was not let out in Hollywood yet? Because she came out not long after that. But was there anything, was there any type of, or was she just a straight pro that that really didn't let anybody see her sweat. Basically.
And she owned that audience, and she owned the comedy. So there was never any trepidation that I know of. I mean, that whole thing about not coming out before coming out, I mean, that was all a network. That was ABC. That was all the corporate stuff. She was completely fine with who she was. And she was, open to her friends. And
stuff. Okay. Similar to Amanda, but it was more a Hollywood thing, though. When that,
because I mean, that was a liability in those days. That even though it wasn't that long ago, it would sink. People thought it would sink the ship because they've got to believe her as being after, trying to find a boyfriend and all that stuff, and you couldn't sort of casually come out. You had to, whatever you did, it was going to be,
news.
Significant.
Significant, especially having your name on the show. Yeah,
she was really great and funny, and I really enjoyed working with her. And I was her last boyfriend, and they actually brought me back after she came out. I came back and did an episode, and the gist of it was that she's come out, she's now who she is, but she still has an attraction to this person, to this guy, and so share a kiss, and I mean, it's like, where am I with this? Which was interesting, but there was a section of the audience who didn't like her revisiting that part of her past, and they sort of booed and went. When we kissed at that last episode, and that part of the audience goes, "Oh no,
she's changing her mind."
We're not going back, are we? But they didn't throw anything, so I felt lucky.
It's a great studio audiences then. Tim Melican, my subsoil brother, who you met in Houston as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my dudes. Thank you for watching, buddy. So this is my weekly. We're already to one sentence or silence. This, like I explained to you in the green room, I throw out a name that you've worked with, and you give a couple words, good or bad, about them. And if you don't like them or don't want to say anything about them, you stay silent. So there we go. All right. So, so the first name I'm going to throw at you, Eric Roberts.
Eric's a very good actor. He's a very good actor. He's got his own way of working, and if you want the best out of the relationship, you work that way. But he was fine. It was good.
Amanda Burse.
Lovely, funny, and creative and enthusiastic, and she's a great person. I would work with her anytime.
One of my favorites from back in the day, Mary Stuart Masterson.
Yeah, well, I was a little starstruck for that. I mean, I did an episode of Touch that I guess that Kiefer and she were on, and so it was a little kind of a 80s throwback, it felt like, but I had such a crush on her.
Some Kind of Wonderful, yeah. Yeah, go. Awesome, good to hear. Darren Star.
Darren is great as well. I was sort of playing him. This thing I did, and so he spoke to me through the character, I think. But but he's great. I've seen him a few times over the years, for other things he's done, and he's fun. He's very creative, obviously.
Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy is a delightful guy as well. He's he's very different than Raylan, his character.
Okay.
He's very chatty, and he's kind of funny, and he's a little he's got a high energy. He's his motor runs kind of high, and so he had those the smoldering Eastwood like sort of nature for that role, but it's really not who he is.
Okay, love Justified. Christy Swanson.
Christy was delightful. She was fantastic. She was the first person I worked with that I sort of felt like when we were working together, like I was not like it was too small. It was too subtle. I was like, come on, I'm not getting enough here. Not again. And then I saw the movie and she was fantastic. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's a good lesson for me, because what you see in person isn't what the camera sees necessarily. And she knew that. And she was great, though. I loved her.
Very cool. All right. M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, I was probably like you. I was like, yeah. He was great. He was all business, he was like Alfred Hitchcock. He was wearing a shirt and tie, and he had his crew, and they were he had been doing this TV show Servant, and they had literally stopped shooting the TV show for a couple of months while they did this movie, Knock at the Cabin. And it was the exact same crew, all the same people. They just shifted from the TV thing over to the movie thing. And so it was great because it was such a well-oiled machine. And he was great. He's obviously a guy who loves movies and loves making movies. And he was terrific.
Awesome. Hilary Swank.
Hillary was interesting. She was... she's one of the few Oscar winners that I have worked with, but she was great. She was very interesting. She was kind of insular, which I guess you have to be, at that level of your career, and especially if you're a young woman. And but she was great. She was very very hardworking and very focused, which was good. Yeah.
Awesome. Not sure about this. Is a little bit different of a name. Kevin Durant.
Well, first of all, the guy can't play. It's all done with the camera.
13th man on the bench.
What is he doing? He can't. No, he would. I didn't work a lot with him. I think I was in maybe one scene or something with him. But it was. You don't realize how tall those guys can get, and so it was pretty interesting. I realized after I had done that I had worked with, I never played basketball or anything as, in school or anything, but as an actor, I've worked with Patrick Ewing, Kevin Durant, and this guy from the Knicks. I forgot his name now, but
an older player, or
guy. Yeah, the big, like in the 80s.
Not Willis Reed. I'm out. Patrick Ewing, you said, yeah.
Did I say that? Patrick Ewing?
Yeah, you said Patrick Ewing. Yep.
Oh, and Karl Malone.
Oh, Karl Malone, yes,
Karl
Utah
Malone
Jazz, yes.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant. And
oh, wow.
Karl Malone is actually from my hometown. He's a little community outside.
Oh, okay. The mailman, yes.
The mailman.
Yeah.
And I was doing this show called Brothers Keeper, and they were supposed to they were going to get Joe Montana, because my brother in the show was a football player, so they were going to get a celebrity type football player to come in and do a cameo, and the guy fell out. I forget who it was, but so they're saying, who do we get? Who do we know? And I said, well, I don't know him, but Patrick Ewing is, we have mutual friends. Maybe you could reach out. And they said, get him. So he came on the show. He came on Brothers Keeper, did a thing.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I always like those because, again, they're not actors, obviously, but I always like to ask, if I have the opportunity, what the interaction is like, because I've been on certain sets where it can be a little difficult to the actor that's trying to. So another name at you, Anthony Michael Hall.
He's got a wonderful career, and again, he has his way of working. It's not my way of working, but you make it work.
A comedic legend, Bobcat Goldthwait.
He was very interesting too. I had seen him in his nightclub, in his comedy club act years before in San Francisco, because he used to kind of hang out there and regularly. So I only knew him as that. So when he was on the show, he did an episode of Herman's Head. He was just like a person. Yeah. Same with Gilbert Gottfried. I was like,
oh, okay.
You just talk like a normal guy. Okay.
No, how you doing, William?
I was wondering. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man. But that's cool. Yeah, Bobcat. Yeah, again, you almost do forget all the different, not just the Police Academy, but I did remember Herman's Head when I watched it back earlier this week. But yeah, definitely. All right, finally, name that was mentioned a little bit earlier ago, Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer was interesting. I didn't. He was very professional, but he was, he had just come off 24. He was, a demigod in the TV world, so I didn't get to hang out or anything. But he was very good. He's a great actor. So it was. I got to shove him at some point in this thing we did.
Yeah.
I got to manhandle him a little bit, which did a lot for my ego. But he's a good guy. He seems like a good guy. Very hard worker.
Cool. I have one of our watchers says Sarah Rue. Yes.
Oh yeah, Less Than Perfect. Yeah, Sarah was great. Also, another really gifted comedian. Was a lot of fun. Very generous to work with. That was a great show. Andy Dick was on that, and Eric Roberts, and what's his name? Levy. Can't forgetting his first name, but yeah, it was a very talented group. So.
Okay, I have one more name. I just had a friend text in. I'm not sure if you work with him in Broken City, but Mark Wahlberg.
I did work with him. Yeah, I was his lawyer.
Okay.
It was interesting. I sat next to him for an entire day, maybe a day and a half, and in this courtroom, and they're filming this courtroom scene, and I'm literally sitting next to him, and we never spoke or anything because he was being very serious, and kind of really going for the method thing, and didn't want to step outside of that, which I have to respect. But he was great. I ended up taking a photo with him, and he was super cool then. So
cool.
I think I did crack him up at one point because he was on trial for like murder or something, and they're waiting to set up the lights and the camera and everything, and I'm goofing around or something with the judge. I'm like flirting with the judge or something, and people are starting to laugh a little bit at it and everything. And I turned around, and he had his hand up over his face, staring down. So I thought, oh, maybe he's
nice.
I didn't want to disturb. I didn't want to.
Yeah, don't want to get him out of his method.
Yeah. I don't want to get kicked off the set.
Mr. Ragsdale, please come with us.
Yeah.
All right. So CJ Robles said Eugene Levy. I'm not sure.
I didn't work with Eugene Levy. I'm sure I would have loved him.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that threw me for a loop.
I was a huge SCTV guy in college, and so I'm sure I would have loved working with him. I did see Joe Flaherty, who was also a member of that group, once in a park in LA, and I told him how much that those guys got me through college. I think I just
awesome. So you got through One Sentence of Silence without staying silent, almost, but
no, we're counting that one as silent.
Okay. Well, I'd be interested. Maybe you guys can interview other people who've had.
It's
that particular actor, and
yes, absolutely, yes, we will. So moving on. So you've done a lot of amazing television shows, like guest stars and spots on it. I'm going to do a similar thing. This is actually a first because I decided I was going to ask you what your favorite one was, but because there's so many great shows that I loved, I'm just going to throw you some of them and just briefly tell me if you enjoyed it or what the process was like for you, because and then we'll just go rapid fire if that's cool with you.
Okay. All
right. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Fantastic. It's great. We all it was kind of improvised. You basically had a storyline, and then they said go, and when you got that group, it was just amazing. And nobody had a trailer. Nobody had their area. We just hung out on couches waiting to shoot. So it was it was really a lot of fun.
Great. One of my all-time favorite shows, Entourage.
Entourage was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have much to do, but I got to work with Bill Forsyth, who. Oh
yeah, one of my great friends. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. and I've always loved him, and so it was fun to be around him for a bit, and Jeremy Piven, and it was. I felt like that was a really high-end experience.
Desperate Housewives.
That was fun too. I didn't. Again, I was only there for one or two scenes, but that show was kind of a
Yeah, it was a juggernaut at the
phenomenon.
time.
So it was
Yeah.
nice to be plugged into that. And the guy who had developed it, I want to say William Cherry, but I don't think that's right. His last name is Cherry, but he had been a writer on the Golden Girls or something, which shot
Ooh,
right next to us on Herman's Head. So he knew me from that. So it was kind of fun for him, I think, to have something
Yeah.
from his past showing
Yes.
on his show. But
Very cool. Very cool. Another great show, The Blacklist.
Blacklist was a lot of fun. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily the warmest experience I've had, but literally because we shot like in 20-degree weather or something out in the woods somewhere, and but it was good. It was fun. It was a well-oiled machine, and ironically, my director on that was Andrew McCarthy, because he and Jimmy Spader are friends, and he's directed a number of those shows. So so it was fun. He came up to me at one point, and after I'd been there for a couple of days, and he said, "So I understand we have something in common." And I wasn't quite sure what he was talking about, but then I realized it was the Mannequin 2.
The Mannequin 2, yeah. Yeah.
We've both been in love with mannequins. So
that's a next question we'll come to after that about something like that. But one of my another show, one of my favorite shows is still going strong, Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods, yeah, it was again a show that's, I think I just did one in August, and I think it was their 13th year.
Yeah,
and so they're when a show is successful and everybody knows everybody like that, it's really smooth. It's really easy, and everybody's enjoying it. So that was nice. That's always nice. And I got to carry a nice big gun in that one.
Yeah. So I remember the scenes of you and Will Estes, and it was cool stuff to see you on there.
I usually end up getting shot or bludgeoned or something. So nice to be on the other side of that.
Yeah. All right. Finally, CSI.
CSI, yes. Well, which one?
You did a couple. I know you did Miami and the weather. Oh, give us from both. Like what were the experiences?
Well, I got on the Las Vegas one. I got to work with Ted Danson, which was kind of a fun thing. And
Sam Malone, yes.
Yeah, Sam Malone. I didn't call him that. But he's a really generous, fun, likable guy.
Yeah.
And the other one was David Caruso, and he was a real lesson in not doing too much too, because he would do a scene and in person you're like, is he started yet? Is he gonna are we shooting? Is he doing it? And then when you see it, it's like really excellent, so it's a reminder to me to always kind of keep, don't worry about trying to elevate a performance or whatever, just do your job. And so
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. So going back to what you said about Andrew McCarthy, I saw it was on the IMDb or somewhere. I saw that there's a lot of roles that a lot of actors that have been on this show and that I know personally have gone out for audition for roles, and they've lost out to other actors or whatever. And there's a slew of roles that a certain person on the screen's gone out for that went to other actors, from Matthew Broderick to other people. And was there anything that really bothered you in your career that you really, really wanted that went to another actor, and that you really fought for, and that you really were like, I think that this is mine, and then it didn't go your way for whatever reason?
All of them.
Great answer.
I mean, when I was starting out, I was, Matthew Broderick got anything he wanted because he
was Ferris Bueller.
And Project X, I was close on Project X, and I was doing literally Biloxi Blues on Broadway national tour when they were shooting that movie. And I used to run into Christian Slater and Patrick Dempsey and Brad Pitt, and these guys, we were all in the waiting room together. So there there were things there was The Name of the Rose that Christian Slater ended up doing I was really excited about because I had studied Latin and I was, I thought, oh, well, I'm made for this, but, and, yeah. And I had met this guy, Phil Robinson, who directed Field of Dreams, and he directed In the Mood, which was Patrick Dempsey's first kind
of. Oh yeah.
And so we kind of had a little relationship, and I sort of felt like he wanted to hire me, but I never was able. Patrick Dempsey got one, and then River Phoenix got one, and then Frank Whaley got one, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's just not going to happen. It's nice to see it and everything, but it's not working out. But
it is interesting though, like looking back. I mean, obviously at the time, like you feel like you're right for everything and you won it all because you could have done a great job. But it's interesting moving forward all these years and seeing what Fright Night is a cult classic that you're still seeing thousands of fans a year, like getting autographed. Whereas some of those movies back then that we spoke of, no one talks about. So it's like no one's talking about really the name of the Rose or Johnny Be Good or Biloxi Blues. And again, that doesn't discount them being good movies, but the cult classics we never know moving forward. Like you're an icon for a film that some of them now are probably like that Ragsdale. If it was me next to Roddy McDowall and whatever, like, so again, it's hindsight's 20/20 sometimes. So cool.
The only regret I have ever heard of any movie I got and someone else didn't was Charlie Sheen was up for Fright Night and didn't get it. So that's my I clean for that, That's all I.
It's Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, Charlie.
His was it Dragon Blood or whatever it was. Yeah. All right, so this is a weekly question I always ask and always get interesting answers. If you could play any role in any movie, any budget, doesn't matter, $100 million, $200 million movie, independent, doesn't matter, something that speaks to you, what would that role be?
The specific role?
Well, yeah. What type of role would you like to play? Like, if you were to say, they said William Ragsdale today, you can be the lead in any film in Hollywood, any franchise, whatever. What would that be?
Well, I mean,
television or film, like, doesn't matter.
It's not really possible. Well, I'd love to be on Blue Bloods for 13 years, but that's not going to happen. But I was such a Harry Potter fan that if I could have been something in one of the Harry Potter movies, that would have been fantastic. But obviously, different country and person and all that stuff. But I mean, any of those guys, a Woody Allen movie, I would have loved to have worked with him at some point. Just because I loved him so much growing up. So.
What does William Ragsdale think is good cinema today? Like, do you watch horror films? Are you more of a dramatic comedy or whatever? What would, if you sit down and watch Netflix or Hulu or whatever, what is William watching?
I watch whatever my sons are watching. I have 3 teenage boys and they rule the television. So I usually end up watching what they're watching. They're watching the Andor series now, which is beautifully shot and some good acting and my kids are really well versed in movies because I show them. My oldest loves the old spaghetti westerns and
nice.
The Good and the Bad and the Ugly and
nice.
And they have a really broad sort of taste and
That's good.
So I'm pretty. They have good taste, and I usually go along.
You raised them right. Like I love. I always call them old souls that have an appreciation for music of a different age that was amazing, and cinema of a different age that was amazing, and like a lot of the kids today, that's old. That 78 Carpenter movie's old. Like, and they think that like the newer movies are like king, and I'm just like, nope. I'll stand on my old guy Mountain and whatever any day for The Exorcist or any of those movies back, and same with older music from Motown to CCR to whatever. So it's cool to know that your kids are that. So William, if you were not in the entertainment business as an actor, you were doing something totally different, what would William Ragsdale be doing in life?
I'd be on one of my boats, I guess. I don't know. Just hang out on one of my boats or one of my houses. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of such a fun job. It's hard, once you've kind of experienced people applauding you at the end of your workday, it's kind of hard to go to anything else,
Yeah.
But I mean, I love movies. I probably would do something in cinema or you know, be involved in that way, or theater or something.
Okay.
But yeah,
Something still in the business, basically. Gotcha. That would be my answer too, because I do a multitude of things. So if I wasn't acting, or if I wasn't directing or producing, I would probably be an agent, or I'd probably be something different, something to stay in the same realm, because
right.
it's just in my blood. So
It's really, yeah. I mean, it's really exciting once something gets going, and it starts happening. It's like fun for everybody. So I enjoy that.
Totally. So Daniela asked, going back to your early answer about starring in a Western, would you prefer comedy or a serious movie, TV?
Well, I've done a lot of comedy, and and it's fine. I don't mind it, but getting to do some serious stuff would be fun. I mean, I guess it sort of all depends on what it is. But yeah.
There was a lack of photos of you holding like a shotgun, and like sometimes I have actors and they have a bunch of photos with guns or whatever. There is one where you have the gun and the thing till the back of the guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there's not as many badass like cool cop poses or things of that nature. So it would be cool seeing you on a horse with like a shotgun and the cool the cool Wyatt Earp hat. So
yeah, that would be nice. But when I'm sort of my heyday in the 90s and stuff, when I was doing TV, or I had done movies and I was doing TV, there wasn't a lot. The crossover between those things wasn't what it is today. Now you do a feature or a TV show, and it's it's highly regarded either way. But there was really sort of a barrier, or sort of an obstacle to go back and forth in those days. And, it wasn't until people broke out of TV, like Jim Carrey or Tom Hanks, and they went over to do film stuff. And, and once you do that, you can sort of pick whatever you want. But,
it was a different time. It was a different time when you almost stayed in your lane, unless you were unless you were Michael J. Fox and you tried other things, or like you said, Robin Williams or some certain actor. And sometimes it wasn't taken on. Like I noticed, like they didn't take to it because they wanted to see Jim Carrey be funny. So they didn't take to, or they wanted Robin Williams to be more Good Morning Vietnam and less Insomnia. Which again, I understand as an actor, because you want to spread your wings and show that you can be a creepy or a badass or whatever, and do something different. So I also have a question or a comment from CJ Robles. Another great show, Brandon. Thanks for hanging with us, William. Can't wait to meet you at a convention in the near future. He also said your montage in Mannequin 2 when you get ready for work is still one of my favorites of all time. You have the cool haircut, skinny red tie, and no top Jeep. Those were the days. Thanks. So
thank you. Thanks, CJ. Yeah, that was
awesome. Awesome. So what's up for William right now? What's going on? Conventions, film, television. What's new for you?
Yeah, doing mostly conventions now. I'm going to Manchester in the UK next week. And I'll be there for a couple of days for a convention there, and then after that, sort of slows down, at the end of the year. But I think there might be one in December. I can't remember exactly where that is. And then I did these two small roles in the M. Night Shyamalan movie, one, and then I did another kind of Easter egg cameo thing in Renfield, which is the new Nick Cage, Nicholas Hoult vampire comedy. So that'll be out, I think, in April or something like that. And and then just sort of staying at it. I'm directing a play at a college in January, and just trying to keep on keeping on. So
I hear you there. You
don't have a lot of there's not a lot of horizon. You don't see very far in the horizon at this these days. But
I see. Kelton Gent says Cage is Dracula. I don't know about that. Okay, all right.
You will.
Know. All
you
right,
will.
there we go.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's brilliant. He was watching him do it. You're sort of thinking, you know what? He was kind of born to play this role because he's got a natural kind of uniqueness and and he loves movies. He's like an historian as well. He's very he honors the history and the and all that stuff, and he's really good in it. And they've shot it in a way that he really it throws back to the richness of the Universal stuff, except it's in color. So I think he's going to be brilliant.
That's great to hear. And I think, Nicolas Cage gets flagged from a contingent of our society, but he's one of the few actors that he created his own niche,
right.
Like you said, uniqueness. And again, I think he's way more brilliant than not. It's like there's some everything I've watched, it's like what you're getting with a Nicolas Cage film, but he's giving you something different every performance. Whether it's a horror film, a drama, like The Leaving Law, everything I've seen him in, I'm just like, okay, that's something. He's never staying inside a box. And I really respect that. So shout out.
He works to not be in a box. I think he's really, and he's fully committed to whatever he does. So I've worked with him twice, and he's an absolute professional. So
awesome. Yeah. All right, so this is the point where one of my final questions is I ask, like I told you, there's a lot of filmmakers and aspiring actors and current actors watching. I asked you to give a little words of advice for the people that are watching, and because this is a tough business, that there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of lean years, a lot of some fat years for all of you. So just give some words of advice to our audience, if you would.
Well, I mean, in truth, it's very different than when I was starting out, because you were encouraged to study and do a lot of theater and educate yourself on movies, which is still good, but it's really about social media now. You got to have the social. I mean, I have been sort of approached about things that they ask me about my social media, what I'm on, how many followers I have, and and it's just the reality of the business at this point. It seems like it's I guess it's they're always looking for some metric to to measure you by, and that's what they got. If you're already popular before you do the role, then it's just gravy for them. So I feel kind of weird saying that because I'm not on social media, but yeah, it's that would be what I would give advice. I would give somebody. I mean, you can make a living at social media. You can make to get you through those days while you're waiting to do something more professional, I suppose. But I don't know.
That's good.
By the way,
no, it's actually good because we haven't heard it on the show. This is, I believe, my 30th episode, and that is good advice, because we live in a different world than it was even 15 years ago, like when it was just kind of the advent of MySpace and all of that stuff. Now we see people who have millions of followers that don't have a specific talent for acting or music, but they have television shows. They're getting popularity because these companies that want to sell products are going to put these people out in the forefront because they know 5 million people are going to watch it. So it's a different world. And whether or not that's good or bad, I mean, I'm on the other side of it. I think you should have, just because there's so many brilliant actors like yourself and many others that haven't got a shot like you've gotten, that deserve it. So when you see someone who just is doing fart jokes or doing things on TikTok or whatever, and they have an MTV show, then you're like, that doesn't seem fair. But again, it's like you said, it's metrics in the world we live in, where people look at how many people are watching somebody, and they say, okay, we're going to sell a certain amount of product. So whether or not I believe it's right or not is irrelevant. But again, I believe in talent and hustle and hard work, and again, that's not always the measure for Hollywood and for some of these film people that are looking to cast. So
I mean, it's the business end of it that's changed. They don't, agents don't go out and look at little theaters and stuff to find people. They come into their living rooms on whatever their services are. So
very true. Yeah. So I actually do have a quick last question. How's the con circuit for you? Like, do you enjoy? Did you know I mean, I know you haven't been doing it for decades or whatever, but I mean, do you enjoy going out? And obviously, you love your fans, but is it something that before it happened, did you know how many fans there were for Fright Night and Mannequin, and some of you were before you did it, or were you kind of blown away? Because I've known people that I've told to go out and they're like, oh, no one's going to come and see me. Yeah. And then they go out there and then they're swamped and they're just blown away to almost emotion. So how was that for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's, for me, it was, I mean, I like the work I've done, but they're, a lot of them are jobs, they're just jobs, and you don't expect them to resonate or whatever. And the people who, as who go to the horror cons and stuff, they're lifers, man. This is their childhood. It is what they share with their children. It's their regular routine. It's their world. It's their tribe, and and that's very moving in a way that people connect with, not just my movies, but all these other movies. I'll be sitting sometimes next to people who I don't know, I don't recognize, and they'll have these huge lines, and people are just fawning over them. And then, that's a testament to the medium and to and to how invested the fans are in this particular genre. Yeah. And so I love it. You're seeing people in their happy place, and that's that's always fun.
Very cool. Very cool. I have a question. Oh, okay. What did William think of the Fright Night remake?
Is this where I'm silent again?
There you go.
It was fine. I went to see it with Jonathan Stark, who plays Billy Cole in our movie, and he had been out of town or something. I said, well, let's go see the remake. He said, well, I'm not going to be back for a week or something, a couple of weeks. I said, well, I'm not sure it's going to be here that long. Just because what I had read, and it had, the first weekend there were posters everywhere, and the next weekend I didn't see any anymore. Yeah. So, I would have liked to have done, like a cameo or something in it, but and it was weird because I tell people, when they were releasing it, they were using the exact same artwork. They're using our cloud, demon cloud. So it was on I was in LA at the time. It was on the buses. It was on billboards. So it was weird. It was kind of like, a wonderful life. It's a Wonderful Life, where you step into this, you were a part of that, but you're not a part of that. It's not anything you're involved in. So that was kind of weird, but
why didn't they didn't approach you to do it? They usually do that first and ask the legacy stars to be a part of that. So that's kind of different.
I thought so. I mean, I love that when I see a movie and I see, Tarantino's great about that. You'll see people from the original or whatever, and I love that stuff.
Yeah, even some films that are not, I didn't think were the best. It was cool, like even the A-Team seeing Dirk Benedict and so they'll be like, oh, or whatever. I know, it's cool.
The tip of the hat. It's an homage. You're remaking it for a reason, because
I worked on years ago. I worked on the set and casting and stunts for the Miami Vice film or whatever. And I was hoping, I was a huge fan of the show growing up, and I was hoping, but Don Johnson wouldn't hear of it. But I was hoping him and Philip Michael Thomas, that would have just been a cool drive by in the car, and that would have just been everything. And they tried, like Michael Mann tried, and people tried, but I mean, I guess it just wasn't. Philip was interested, but from what I understood, but Don wasn't having it. But again, I love those nod winks to the legacies and the classics because we all know it, we all loved it. A lot of those shows and movies. So that's a shame though. So good question though, Sean. Like for William. Because again, that's that's like
I'm a lot less bitter about it now than I was then. I was sort of
cool. Yeah. All right, Mr. Ridgely, any questions for our great guest?
Well, I usually have an end question, but you kind of ruined that because he already said he doesn't do social media. So I'm kind of at a loss here right now.
I'm going to start doing social media. I am going to start, but I just can't. There's too much. There's too much to learn and to know. You
need to just get a dance routine together, William, and then start a TikTok, and then it's just going to blow up. You're going to go viral, and then before you know it, there's a Herman's Head reboot. They're reimagining. They're building a requel for Fright Night starring you.
No, wait a minute. There already was a Herman's Head reboot. Didn't Disney Pixar do that?
Yep, In and Out, yeah.
Oh, okay.
People have said that there are similarities, but
okay. I wasn't on that train. I'm a Herman Brooks guy, so I'm team Herman Brooks. So
I wish they re-release Herman's Head on something. That would be
that would be nice too. I had to track it down online. Yeah, it would be cool to get like a Blu-ray box set or something like that of all of that. But
I do have one quick question, if I may. So when was the last time you all got together, and is there a future date when everybody will get together?
Everybody from Fright Night?
Correct.
Yes.
I don't know. Amanda and Stephen Jeffries and I are going to be in the UK next week. I think Chris had a conflict. I was with Stephen and Jonathan Stark a couple of weeks ago in Minnesota at Crypticon, and I was with Chris a couple of weeks ago in Maryland. So we do show up, in pieces, but it's always a lot. It's always a lot of fun when we're able to get there together.
Well, no doubt. And Brandon, did you happen to mention to William that we have 4 of the main cast from Fright Night? We've had them on the network. So we've had Jonathan, obviously William, we've had Amanda, and then we had Tom Holland. We're missing like 2 keys that are still with us.
Yes, Chris Sarandon has to step up, and good old Stephen Jeffrey. So we'll see about making that happen in the near future on one of these shows. But William, my friend, thank you so much for spending some of your Friday night. I know this is the horror month, so I know you're tired because you're on the run, and I'm sure you got a lot of autograph requests and a lot of things you're doing. But we appreciate you joining the network tonight and spending some time sharing your stories with our audience, because
thank you.
This was appreciated by, I know I'm going to get a lot of messages this weekend, and so is Joe, about how great you are, and we appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I love talking about it and hearing people who like the movies and stuff as well. So
appreciate you. Daniela said, thanks, William. Great show. Tim said, horror has the best fans, hands down, the most loyal. Second and third that.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. When we first started doing it, the first time we got together as a cast was a reunion in 2009, I think, in Dallas. And I hadn't seen, other than Chris, I hadn't seen anybody really since, and maybe Jonathan, since the movie opened. Amanda went on to Married with Children, and Stephen got involved in his thing, and so so it was. I thought it was going to be 1 or 2 maybe, and then people would move on to something else. But it's been going on for 13 years now.
Wow!
So
wow! Yeah, even Tom, like, have you crossed paths with him, or only on the convention circuit, or okay, but you hadn't talked to him since the movie either, or
I had
you?
Well, I'd had dinner with him a couple of times. I used to go to dinner at Roddy's, and he would sometimes be there, and the guy Herb Jaffe, who produced it, would have dinners occasionally, and I would show up there. So, but I hadn't seen them in 20 years, I bet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Okay. Oh yeah, and that's what's great about cons. They bring a lot of these casts back together, just like Tim did on his show last night for Rock and Roll Nightmare. And again, speaking of Tim from Subsoil, I think I said to you when I was in Houston, we're going to AFM next month to pitch some projects, but we'll be reaching out to you in the near future, my friend, about something pretty dark. So it'll be something different for you. But yeah, we hope that we're pretty high on making it happen, and I'll be reaching out to you, my friend. About working together. So, all right, man. But again, thank you so much. You have a great weekend. And our audience for IOU, William Ragsdale.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We didn't even get to the documentary or anything, man. That could have gone on for 4 hours.
Hey, man, that's just a cool dude, man. And I love just like hearkening back to Jeremy London and so many of our great guests. Like, it's cool when people have had the heightened success to where they've been on major television shows and major cult films, but they're just regular cats that understand, and they love their fans, and they're just cool people that, I mean, that like you and I have conversations. Him and I have had the same type of conversations. Same with Amanda. Same with a lot of these great guests, and that's what I love. I love the humility of it, because no matter how big they've gotten or who they've worked with, and he's worked with some giants. I mean, we talked about Nicolas Cage and Kiefer Sutherland and all these different amazing people or whatever.
And your buddy William.
William Forsythe again. Shout out to my great friend too. That I'll have an announcement soon about something we're doing together. But again, it's cool because it just shows you that if you don't have to have that Hollywood ego, you don't have to like have your nose up or whatever. You can just, and that's why I love these horror conventions and things like that, because it's a celebration.
Take this from Tim. Take this from Tim.
We should cast a movie with just the guests from your shows. That would be epic. All great people. Thank you, brother. I agree. Then that's some of the plans we have, because a lot of our great guests are either attached to stuff we have upcoming or hopefully will, like William. So yeah, thank you for that, Tim. Stay tuned for some Subsoil news that we'll have probably come up and coming. Also, there's going to be some special shows that we'll announce soon. I'm not gonna do a giveaway right now.
Come on.
No, I mean, again, I don't want to jinx anything, but I mean, I have a movie that's premiering on October 22nd at the 31st Philadelphia Film Festival called Not for Nothing. It's a crime thriller that I'm a producer on. I was the casting director. I also have a part in it, and I'm very proud of the final product, and I can't wait for people to see it. We have 2 screenings, one on the 22nd and also one on the 29th. We're also playing the Reading Film Festival on October 29th at 8:30 at an IMAX theater in Reading, PA. So again, that's cool too. So it's going to be a big month of premieres coming up for me and all the cast of that movie. And we're going to have a show that we're going to schedule at the end of the month where I'm going to introduce you to the cast of the movie, and we're going to have some special things we're going to show on it, and it should be cool.
What movie? You failed to mention the movie.
Not for Nothing. I did say it.
Oh, did you say it? I'm sorry. I must have totally missed that. I was reading all the comments.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. Oh, so what's Sean Lane? Tell me about your stint on Miami. But I did. I had moved to South Florida for a few years back in, I want to say the mid 2000s, right around the time that movie was being made. And a buddy of mine, who's a great actor, stuntman, Adam Shashelsky. I was down there living with him and his wife, and we both worked on the film. We worked in the stunt department and in the casting department. So it was kind of our job sometime to take care of Colin Farrell and make sure that he didn't get attacked by a million women on South Beach. And then it was other times where it was our job just to go around. Michael Mann was a very method type casting director. So he wanted authentic, thugs and bad people to be in the movie. So we literally had to go to some of the worst parts of Miami looking for real criminals and different people.
And there's some bad parts of Miami.
There's some
I've
big
been
parts
there personally.
of Biscayne. There's parts of Biscayne. There's parts that we were like not even sure we wanted to get out of the car, but we did compile a decent amount of people that ended up in the movie. Just, I mean, you're offering money for them to come be on a movie set, eat free. And so, yeah, we did that. And that was about a 6-7 month process in Miami that I worked on that film. I also did stunt driving and precision driving. So when you see the car scenes you see the hero Ferrari that Colin and Jamie were in, and there's a bunch of cars like that go around them like on the highway. And I was one of the vehicles kind of weaving in and out in front of their Ferrari and all that stuff.
We've got to do a night just with Q&A and hanging out with you and your past experiences. I think I actually think people would benefit from that. So that may be something you'd like to consider, I hope.
I mean, I'm game for everything. I love the edge. I've always told you from the beginning, even from back in the old show, like I love the educational aspect of it. And I've had a lot of ups and downs. I had a lot of great experiences. That was a cool experience on that movie. And again, when you're on these sets that are $100 million, it's totally different than doing some of the stuff that I've done for $10, where you just have to hustle and make every cent count. So for me, it's again, it would be cool to share, because I don't think back much of them. I appreciate that, Sean, for asking the question, but I don't think back on as much of it because I always try to stay in the moment, and I'm still trying to break down barriers and walls for my career. So, but again, it is cool to think back on Miami Vice and a lot of the stuff that I got to do on some of those sets with some amazing people. So
let me hit on some comments here. We got Terry Gerald saying, awesome, huge congratulations. And that is to Not for Nothing and everything coming up. And then Tim is seconding that with, I'm assuming, just interviewing, maybe about hanging out, Q&A, and I'll guest host for IOU. And there you go. That'll work. And then Danielle is saying, definitely, I want to hear Brandon's movie experiences. We all do. And we never really got to that. That could take up an hour and a half at least, no?
All right. Hey, if you guys want to do it, I'm game for whatever. Again, anybody that knows me knows I don't like to talk as much about myself. But again, I do like talking about my experiences, because it's part of me and the people that I've been blessed.
It'll definitely be made fun.
And that's cool. So I'd be game for it. But yeah, Miami Vice was a cool thing. There's a lot of things that people don't know. That again, I'm okay, and I'm also an open book. So if someone asks me questions, even if it's not the best answer, I'm going to give you the straight answer. So because
we can go one sentence or silence with Brandon.
You can go one sentence or silence, and you're going to get some silence on certain people, because they were not. There were some of the people on that set were deserved the silence. So I do a quick story. I do remember like being on set one day, and we're waiting for instructions on casting, and I back up, like somebody walked by, and I back up, and I bump into someone, and I turn around, and it's Shaquille O'Neal, who's like, he was playing for the Miami Heat at the time, and he was just on set hanging out, and I look up, and I'm like, oh, excuse me, sorry, and I just look up, and it's like the biggest human being I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, I shake his hand, and his hand like engulfs my entire forearm basically. And I was like, how you doing there? How you doing? And whatever. And it was just like, it was one of those moments where you realize you're on a Hollywood set, and there's just random celebrities running around.
So you mean you backed up into a brick wall?
Brick wall, pretty much. And it was just like, so yeah, it was a moment like in time where it was like, wow, like, okay, this is again a huge brother that, I mean, he was cool, but it was like you said, it was like backing up into a brick wall. And so yeah, Sean, thanks for answering. I think everybody knows your experiences add spice to the show. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been through a lot, and yeah, I'd be happy to share at some point in the near future. But yeah, so is anything coming up on Sunday for you?
Sunday, I believe that we're taking off on Sunday. We'll have a show the following week, and again, nobody's giving me any info, so I'm really excited. I don't know what's going on next week.
It has been a little different for me too. Like, that's why, I mean, I really appreciate William for coming on, because this is the horror week. I mean, not week, but the horror month. So it's been very difficult. Like, I've reached out to a decent amount of people that are definitely going to come on, but it's just they're so packed with these conventions and appearances and
yeah,
doing everything. So, and Friday night is when a lot of the conventions begin through the weekend. So
right.
it's a difficult month. So, like I said, the fact that we got William and we got Creepy last week, which was an amazing interview. If you haven't seen that, go watch the Steve Barton interview last week. And I'm also going to start doing that. Like Tim actually told me that a couple weeks ago that I should do. I'm going to start like sporadically, maybe weekly, posting some of the last 30 podcasts that have been on. So then people that missed Rob Schmidt or Tiffany Shepis or Spider One or whoever can go back and revisit it if they didn't get a chance to. So I'm going to be doing that starting this week. So
all right, so we're going to do something new, Brandon. We never usually do you. We usually do the Indie Escape Network. So I'm going to do that right now. Make sure to subscribe and follow Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I win.
Yes.
On the Indie Escape Network. And Brandon, where can we find you on these platforms?
On these platforms, you can find me SSE Brandon on Instagram. My name, Brandon E. Brooks, on Facebook. TikTok, I believe it's Brandon E. Brooks as well. And YouTube is under my name too, but YouTube is just, there's really nothing specific on YouTube, but mostly under my name and everything should come up, Brandon E. Brooks. But IG is very specific, SSE Brandon, which is short for Saint Sitter Entertainment, which is my company and my first name. So yeah, and anybody reaches out, if anyone's interested in that is in the business, interested in questions about the business or whatever, or if there's guests that want to come on or whatever, we're always willing, because we have all these different shows. Hopefully we have some new, knock on wood, shows that'll be upcoming with some new blood as guests. And you said Daniela will be back soon with Ray, which is exciting.
Yes.
So yeah, so yeah, this has been I was talking to a friend of mine that was my first guest on IOU the other day, and he was about how nervous I was that first episode, and had no idea where I was looking, and I'm just like looking over here, and I'm like,
did he bust your chops about that? Really?
No, he didn't actually bust my chops. I was just talking to him about it, and he was into it, so he was doing his thing. But I cringe when I think about it or whatever. But
is he coming back on?
Yeah, he will be back on soon, and we're also going to be. I'm going to make an announcement probably within the next month about a project that he's going to be involved with. So yeah, cool. And also some other people. So yeah, but yeah, it was just funny thinking back to that first one and how nervous I was. And again, I'd never done this stuff before, but I'm glad that I took the plunge. And I'm glad that 30 episodes later, I'm still here. So
congratulations on 30 episodes, man. That's a huge accomplishment.
It wouldn't have happened without you, my friend, and the support of all you guys out there. And but you specifically, Joe, are the reason why I'm here, because if you didn't show the love and support for me behind the scenes, like, even I know you have a crazy work schedule or whatever, but if you didn't do it, like, I definitely wouldn't be able to be giving these interviews or doing this stuff. So shout out to you. The props go to you for keeping all of us going. I know Tim feels the same about his stuff, like last night, and I'm sure CJ, Gabe, JW, Rich, Daniela, Ray, and even Scott and David all feel the same. So props to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So with that being said, thank you everybody for watching tonight and for commenting. Terry, Tim, Daniela, Sean, anybody else who didn't comment, but you watched, I appreciate you. I know Violet is watching. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm just going to leave you guys with my end of the show thing for the 30th time. Believe in the power of yourself and the right others. Peace, everybody. Have a great weekend.